on.
Welcome everybody to another World of Ability show. That is part of the World of Ability Podcast Network. That was started in 2020 by Kurt Ruskov, who's here on the show with us, as well as Marcus Hart from Transforming Media out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This show is the anchor show of World of Ability Podcast Network. And the show was started July 26th, 2020, and the 30th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, by then President George H.W. Bush. And so I am Emily, the podcast engineer and co-host of the show, along with Kurt Ruskov. We have a couple of guests today. Both of them, this is their first time on this particular show. One of them has been on one of our other shows a couple of times. And so we have Tommy Tong and Kathy Arty. So Kurt, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right, bear with me, folks. I'm getting Instagram Live going. And so we are excited to be on this episode of the World of Ability podcast. And yeah, it is disability advocacy live streaming. We just have our guests here. Emily, are you producing an echo? I'm hearing an echo in our production. If we can have a sound check to help our sound quality, that'd be great. But thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Kathy, for joining us today. I'm working with Twitter a little bit, trying to troubleshoot my device. I apologize. Again, this is about the disability community, 2 billion people with disabilities around the world, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the deaf community, blind community, people with physical disabilities. And we're co-hosted here with Emily Gulmer, who came to us through Anne Marie Oblivion, who founded Prosperity Pathways and Onward and Upward. And so we have met through for-profit and nonprofit business, and with the Happy Neighborhood Project, we have been given an opportunity in another co-op. We actually, part of the introduction with Anne Marie Oblivion was through a humans cooperative, so mutual aid network, and an economic solution to create some changes so that we have alternative ways and additional ways, complementary ways to get resources to people doing what they do in the world, helping people do what they would like to do. And so that's what it is in disability advocacy. It's called self-determination. And so the idea is we want people around the world that are people with disabilities to be able to self-determine what they would like to do in their life. And so with this, again, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, deaf community, blind community, people with physical disabilities, the Americans with Disabilities Act protects people with sensitivity to EMF waves. And, with all the electromagnetic fields that we put in the air with all of our 5G networks and our smart homes and the Wi-Fi's and the Bluetooth and all that stuff is great, but it does have a biological impact, and some people have a sensitivity to it. And the Americans with Disabilities Act protects that people with these sensitivities, it could be chemical sensitivity with fragrances and stuff like that. So we try to attend to the marginalized population, the minority groups, and try to create this narrative how we can make everything for everybody. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to meet our guests, and we're going to just learn what they do in life. And as our conversation unfolds, we'll be taking a look at these opportunities thanks to what they do, and the maybe intended or maybe inconsequential benefits for people with disabilities. So Tommy, you want to come in here and get us started? Tommy, are we going to be talking about trail life today? Are we going to be talking about census? Are we going to be talking about
a lot of stuff, fit life, whatever? Yeah, no. Hey, thanks for welcoming me in. Thanks a lot, Kurt and Emily. Yeah, I'm going to talk about trail life this today because we were able to do some camp out last weekend, President's Day weekend. We took some time to take our troop 102 in Northern California to an area called Laguna Mountain campground area, and that's a little bit south of Pinnacles, which is a national park. But in the Laguna Mountain, we were able to find some camping spots as well as places to hike. So yeah, it's we took about 10, I think it's 10 boys were out there with us, and 5 adults. Fantastic time. It's a little bit about trail life. It's a outdoor program for boys between the age of 5 to 18, and there's across the nation. So you can look for troops around your area, and see if you can plug in any families or any boys that are in that age range. There is an a girls component called American Heritage Girls. You can look for them as well. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about what we did, and if that's all right, is I can tell a little story or see what kind of adventures we had. Is that, how much time do I have? Emily, you're muted. Go ahead and let me know, but I'll start in and just flag me when.
We're both on mute. We're both on mute. That's not cool. Yeah. But go right ahead. You want to tell a story or anything?
Yeah, just the adventure we kind of had. Some of it teams in with some of the life training we had. So we had been to this one campsite before, or this area, but we were not able to reach it to there's a waterfall area. So last time we were going there, it was during the summertime, so I'm sure the water was more fickle. So this time we were able to make it to this waterfall, and it's along, I think it's Sweetwater Stream or something like that is where it is. But there, the boys had a lot of fun. Kind of whenever there's boys and there's water and things in nature type stuff they can play around in. It was pretty fun. But one strange thing that we noticed was there were icicles there. So it's been shaded. The temperature here in California has been kind of cold, but I didn't think that I know we didn't get snow, but in that area, I guess from the amount of moisture, it's able to create some icicles on the rocks. So that's one aspect of it. And so the boys were playing around with the icicles and just the wonder of it all. But we get to as we were headed back from there. So we made it to the destination. We finally got to see it. As we're headed back there, one of the adults actually twisted his ankle or sprained an ankle. So that posed a pretty difficult situation for us to figure out, okay, how do we as 10 boys and 5 adults get an adult out of this area? So it's about a 2-mile hike in. I guess about 1.5 miles he was where he twisted his ankle. So but we ended up trying to find some sticks, or a stick that's long enough to make like a crutch, and had to kind of some of the boys had pocket knives with saws on it, so they were able to saw off some of the small branches and make a little crutch. And they did that for a little while. We were able to walk him across this little stream, which is very small, but and make it some way up the path. But I think the other part, so that's one half, is we're just putting our life skills of first aid into action, right? How do we get this grown man up the hill? So we were able to kind of help him figure that out. But first, initially we had put had to get our first aid kits out. We had an ace bandage wrapped his foot, I guess. As they were walking along, thankfully, I mean, this is one of these Providence situations where these college boys were headed back down. Actually, a group of them, college gals and boys, were also camping nearby, and they were headed down towards the waterfall. So, but I think I believe it's like four of them just headed to help and say, hey, let's help this man out. And they were able to kind of sit carry him. So instead of using the crutch as a crutch, they used it as a seat. So two on each side, one on each side, and then one person in behind were able to kind of have him sit down on that crutch stick and carrying and walk up the path. So we were able to get him back to the car. So again, it's some of these things that we teach in trail life skills to be able to help somebody in need. But it's also I guess a good testament to people around that are good Samaritans that are willing to help and to help us to actually to help him get out of a tough situation. So really appreciate it for those folks who helped us. Two of them actually were from Cal Poly, which is one of me and another one of the adult leaders alma mater. So it's good we could have that other connection there. So it's a small world, but it was a fantastic trip overall, and we successfully got him out of there, and then his family came to pick him up. So, and yeah,
Oh,
glad to be able to share that.
It was too bad that he sprained his ankle, but it gave the boys an experience though to practice the first aid and the whatever.
Yeah, the life training
for the experience part of it.
Yeah, it's exactly it, and that's a little bit of why. I mean, we don't go out there to get injured, but just to have that confidence that, hey, we were able to get somebody out there back to safety. So it's a fantastic and kind of a blessing in a trip itself. And overall, the rest of the trip went well. Thanks for allowing me to share that.
Good. Kurt, do you have any comments?
Well, I think what we want to do, Emily, is we want to kind of get our roll call going here. You want to go ahead and introduce our next guest. We got a couple more guests, and we have somebody who's in studio, listener, watcher, and going to be joining us for the post-show conversation coming up here in 45 minutes. But in the meantime, we have a couple more guests. So we have Ben and Kathy. So Emily, you want to go ahead and set one of them up to enter the stage?
I guess first, this was the first time I've met this one, but she did say just before the show that she was from Ireland. Kathy. So I figure if Kathy could, you first, you can say a little bit about what you do, who you are, what you do.
Yes, I'm from and living in Ireland, and I'm an artist, and I'm also a wheelchair user and neurodivergent, and I work at rehab care for different age groups. So I teach art classes to them, and we have a lot of fun making mess with paint. And different disabilities from age groups 18 plus to 40 plus. There's two different places, and I'm working between the two, and then I'm making my own work when I can. And my friend Gracie invited me to go here, so she's here as well. So we're both from Ireland. I can and if you have any questions.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'd like to quickly introduce our other guest here, Ben. Kurt and I just met with Ben just a couple hours ago, and had a great conversation. So Ben, would you like to say who you are, what you do.
Certainly. Thank you. My name is Ben Rusk, and I'm a wealth strategy coach. I help people understand how to handle their money, something we weren't taught in our schools here in the United States. A lot of other countries do business using other forms of currency around the world. We here in the United States use dollar bills, and we don't really understand or haven't been really well taught on what happens when you do business with a fiat currency. So I help people understand that, and I show them ways to protect their money through alternative means, precious metals and other vehicles to make it difficult for you to lose your buying power with our US dollar. So if anybody's interested in protecting their wealth or accumulating more wealth, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you for allowing me to come on the show today.
You're welcome. No, Tommy here is sort of in the financial, well, I guess more insurance than financial, but anyway. Kurt, do you have any questions?
Well, Tommy, let's go back to you a little bit. You know, Ben brings us to the idea of, you know, monetary resources, financial resources to look at great programs, great activities, you know, going out and doing an event, going camping, going to trail life, whatever it may be. And, you know, it takes money to do these things. Kind of what is the, you know, the fiscal situation with an organization like Trail Life? Are you finding it well funded? Is it like a lot of nonprofit stuff where it's constantly noodling out how we're going to, you know, find the wealth resources to keep a great program such as this funded? What does that look like?
Yeah, for Trail Life, it's a nonprofit organization. So, and it's usually run as a ministry of a church. So that's where that nonprofit still stems from the church itself, and the programs that we have or the events that we do are either the troop itself raises funds in fundraising activities. So we are always open to hearing about and participating in fundraising activities to get the income that will help support the events, whether it's the travel expense or the food that we're eating there, especially, you know, the gas prices in there. But some of the places that we look for are, I guess the place that we camped at recently was Bureau of Land Management. So it was federal land, and some of the campsites were free. This one, we happen to be $5 per vehicle, but so we as a troop, we try and minimize the cost or stay in that minimum. But there are activities that we would certainly enjoy going to if we could raise some more funds. So yeah, that's one of the aspects we have is figure out, is there annual or maybe twice a year we could do some activities, raise those to get support for the troop.
All right, excellent stuff. Thanks, Tommy. So Ben, when is the last time you were camping?
I guess I'd have to go back. Well, I don't know if you call it camping, out in the woods, just kind of hanging out in the woods for the evening with a big old bonfire, probably about 3 weeks ago, but camping before that, at least a decade.
Okay, so it's like
But
makes
I have another hobby that I share with people though. You had mentioned you were out on the BLM.
Yeah.
I frequent that area quite a bit in many states because I'm a gold prospector. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, it's another activity you could think about doing while you're out there, being on BLM land. You can prospect for gold without any permits or anything like that. So that might be an activity your troop might want to look into. get a little educated on it so you know where to look. Plenty of YouTube videos show you how to pull it out of the ground and how to find it. But that's another reason why you'll see me out in the BLM is, you know, looking for gold.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think we're going to start wondering where the pots and pans went from our patrol kit when we when we go out there. What happened to them? So we may end up putting some. I guess there's specific pans for that. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a national organization called the Gold Prospectors Association, the GPAA. You can go to their website and get the basic kit for your troops.
Nice. That sounds good. We may be able to fund our own events through gold prospecting at each one. Okay, boys, you know, get everyone in the troop out there that'll fund it for the at least the trip, right? It'll pay for the gas money.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. So Ben, you know, kind of bringing up churches, bringing up faith communities and so forth. Are you and your organization, your system, this idea of gold, I'm Catholic and I go into churches and geez, you look at the ornamentation and you just be like, wow, it looks like they invested in gold in this building, you know, like there's gold structure, you know, going on. Are you seeing much of that in terms of in faith communities, you know, are faith communities investing in gold for what they need to be funded for in the future of their faith practices?
What I'm seeing is more that the organizations are educating their congregations. They don't want to see harm come their way, so they utilize our program to help them understand how to protect what they already have. And you know, a lot of people wind up, you know, looking into it further and generating additional income for their families. But because they do it together, they're much more powerful and they're able to spread the word very quickly. So, you know, we definitely have seen, you know, enormous interest amongst faith-based organizations. So I would strongly suggest that if you have a group or a community that wants this education, by all means, go ahead and just invite me to do a presentation for them, and they can decide for themselves if this is, you know, a direction they want to go, or if this is, you know, right for them. So we're always available to help.
All right, that sounds good. So Tommy, what do you think about this? You're explaining that trail life in part is made possible by a faith community, a church community, so forth. And we're talking about the future of a great program like Trail Life in terms of funding, and you're having fun with it, talking about, you know, your, you know, the boys going out and looking for gold and what that might be. But in terms of the faith community side of it, the church side of it, do you see that that would be relevant? Would the members of your church community be open to an idea of what can gold mean for everything that the church does?
Well, it's interesting because each troop is under under one of the churches as a sponsor, but many of our members come from different churches, so that's kind of an interesting situation there. So then each, I guess, as far as the troop or the members there helping out, I think that would be, you know, an interesting idea of ways of, you know, one for funding and doing things like that, but also, you know, looking at different means of being able to, I guess one of the things that our boys do actually is community service. So they are trying to do things that don't require money, or they're bartering, right? It says, hey, you know, we'll come and help clean up like at a camp, or if there's a campground that we want to go to, help clean up or maybe fix some of the trails. So there's a little bit of a bartering of service for the resources that they have. So that's one thing that we do kind of have as an ability, but also teaching the boys that, hey, there's other ways that you can get things done if you don't have the actual income to do it, or if we, if there's, but the other side is we're training them that service is the key thing, is how do you turn their act of service into something that may be a reciprocal kind of a shared situation.
All right, so Tommy, what happens with the boys in terms of first aid, CPR, emergency response? Something happens in the trail, if one of their friends is injured, how does that all happen in terms of responding to bodily injury?
If anyone's injured, it usually definitely should be brought up to the adults. I mean, if it's scrapes and bruises, the boys are now training themselves, or they're it's kind of like they come to us first, and we kind of say, well, as they have achieved those the badges for it, we're now able to, as adults, to kind of relax and say, hey, talk to your patrol leader. So it's kind of a patrol method is the term that we use, is to start training top-down leadership. So there's patrol leaders. And then there's members, and then there's the patrol leaders, and then it goes up to the officers. So there's a first officer, sometimes there's a quartermaster, second officer. Sometimes there's scribes and some other additional leaders in there. But then if they can't handle it, then it comes up to us as adults. So definitely the serious injuries. We did have one of our troop meetings. We had a broken arm once, and it was pretty early in our troop kind of forming. So I ended up, kicking in my thoughts of aside from my own shock was, okay, here's what we got to do. And I did during the process ask the boys questions, said, okay, here's a broken arm, what should we do? Does somebody have a scarf or bandana that we can use as a sling? And the other one was, just said, well, how will we splint this? Do we have any sticks? And we're in our troop at the church, so it's like a youth room. So I said, let's get a magazine, right? Newspaper or magazine, and let's roll it around his wrist and then tape it so that it stabilized his arm. So yeah, we do end up having to triage ourselves as best we can. I think there's only the broken arm, and I think a broken leg was the two that we did have to triage and But these are life skills and life lessons that happen. So thanks for the question.
You bet. So Kathy, I want to reach out to you a little bit in what you do, the service you provide. Can you describe for us a little bit how you're prepared to deal with emergencies, extreme conditions, anything that with those you serve, if you're in the middle of an incident or something that causes an accident or bodily injury, kind of what does that look like in the field the way you do, Kathy?
Yes. Well, I mean, I started with rehab in the 9th of January, and I have been on 13 training courses since. So they put in a lot of measures to make sure we're educated in order to be able to deal with this stuff. And we have varied levels of disabilities, from autistic to cerebral palsy to Down syndrome, and they're all wonderful, and they're all so creative, and they get so into making art. I just love working with them. So the one thing I'm discovering is communication. How we communicate, how if somebody gets injured, if I say the fire drill, for example, we're in a building and there's a lift, and so it's negotiating how to, one of our guys with Down syndrome, he likes to be off screen, for example, and while he's off screen, he doesn't like to be using his name. And so they've already had issues in terms of when the fire drill goes off and he refuses to answer by his name because he's off screen. And so this week I negotiated with him, you know, there has to be a way for him to answer to his name in the case of emergency, for example. So so they've done it before, and he got overwhelmed and reacted and so on. And so this week, instead of going, you will, you know, because often demand avoidance is a real thing. It's a real thing for me. So I totally get their demand avoidance in terms of approach. And so we were doing Easter cards this week and sending it off to online competition. And so the way I approached it was I wrote it on a paper. I went into him, I took my paper with me. I said, what is your name? He was already, no, I'm off screen. I says, well, for this purpose, we need to have your name. And can you call it out for me? And he was fine. So really it's about approach for me, and communication is key. And we have many ways of communication, forms, body, you know, especially for nonverbal, body language is huge. And so I'm learning lots of sign language and so on. And, you know, each individual is so different. You cannot fit one into any box because there, you know, there can be multiple difficulties. And so we have to assess each person on an individual case. And once we've done that, then it was pretty good. You know, it's great to see them doing the art, and they're building confidence and finding things that they haven't done before. And so I think that the moment for me is communication, is how we communicate those needs, you know? If that makes any sense.
It does. It does. Thank you for sharing. Good insights here. And so we're going to take a segue on your idea about communication. We're joined by another friend of ours. I tend to call friends and Happy Neighborhood Project or Happy Neighbors. And so we have Patricia McDowell is here with us right now, and she's got a different type of communication that she provides, but very effective. And you know, it's kind of handy for situations like this. We kind of have a good gallery of guests and a team here, and the idea of keeping people straight, who's who, what do you do, and being able to stay in touch in a general sense, you know, and be able to, you know, do the follow-up, you know, and things in life. They always say, or like to kind of do a play on words with Ben's aspect, you know, with wealth, you know, we can say fortune is in the follow-up. So Patricia, you have a tremendous follow-up tool and technology, digital business cards. You want to describe a little bit more about, you know, how you got introduced to digital business cards, you know, kind of what you got, you know, electrified by with that, and how you dove into digital business cards, and why you're passionate to share this opportunity to have a digital business card the way you bring it forward.
Well, thank you so much, Kirk, and thank you for the opportunity. And sorry I was making on. I had a client here. And let me tell you a little bit about my background. So background is I have my BA in education in through 6, and I got my master's in speech pathology and audiology. So listen to Kathy, and you know, she was hitting really into my field as a speech pathologist. So how I got into this business, I actually ended up leaving the job and going into politics. And then once I finished serving for 8 years as the first woman to serve as the majority leader of the Yonkers City Council, I wanted to go into business for myself because I couldn't see myself going back into the school or going back into a hospital setting. So I ran into a friend who was telling me about this digital business card. And so I was really interested in it. And one of the features that I like about the card, and especially for me, because I'm Kirk, and I know Emily knows this, is that I suffer with what's called central retinal vein occlusion, which is like taking mayonnaise and smear it over your eyelids. That's basically what they say is like. And every so often it's on my right eye. Every so often my eye will bleed. And so I'm very conscious of people and visions and making sure that when they build their website, that their website fonts are of the right size, and also that they're not using a lot of slanted fonts, because italicized fonts sometimes for individuals are very difficult to read for some people, for people who have issues with their eyes. So the digital business card, what I liked about it is that it has a video so that you can tell your story on the card about what it is that you do, and also about yourself. And and why is that important for people who are visually impaired or challenged, is that they can actually hear what it is that you do. They don't have to depend on trying to read the fonts and the contents of your card. And the other feature that I had liked about the digital business card that my card provides, at the very bottom of the card, the individual can actually send the person who gave them the card a voice message. So they don't have to rely on trying to use that little keyboard on your phone to try to text a message. And I know for me that's very difficult. It's I hit the wrong keys and I find it very, very frustrating. So so people who are challenged, they can actually use their voice to send a message to the person who had sent them the card. So those are some of the features that's great about the card. The other feature that's very good about the card is the fact that you never lose contact with people who you've given your card to. So even if you've given your card to someone 10 years ago, if you make any changes on the card, those changes will be automatically updated on those people's cards in their cell phones the minute you hit save. So that's one of the nice features of the digital business card. And the digital business card comes with a QR code. And that QR code does not change. So even when you make changes on your card, the QR code is automatically updated. So it's not like the QR code is no longer any good because you make changes. The QR code is linked to your URL, the unique URL for your card. So my card URL is https :// Tricia, TRITIA.talkingbcard.net. So if I decide, if I didn't want to do the digital business card anymore, and I decided I wanted to sell dresses, I could change the entire card. Obviously, that's not my name. My name would be the same as I get married. I could change the entire card, and everyone who has my card in the past will now know that I sell dresses. So those are some of the features that my card allows people to see for themselves. Kurt, back to you.
All right. So, do you have plans of selling dresses in the future? Is this a segment or like a foreshadowing hint?
You never know, right?
That's right. That's why I had to ask. All right. So, Ben, I want to go over to you. With being able to be a wealth coach and in the education you provide. Do you practice this, having a digital business card of some sort in this digital age, doing, Zoom meetings and, having typed out business card information one way or another with their phone number, email address, and so forth, their website? How do you do this, Ben, in your wheelhouse to share around details that otherwise, if we had a physical business card, that we got to, make it handy for people to come back to our information? How do you do it?
Absolutely. Basically, I just tell them it's a real easy URL. Just go to benrusk.com. And it can't get any simpler than that. If you know my name, then you can get a hold of me and learn more about what I do and how I do it. Always happy to share technical details. I was in the IT industry for 35 years, so I have just hung up my hat in corporate America and went out on my own to become an entrepreneur. And I've had a hobby of gold panning and gold mining for over 20 years, and metal detecting as well. So I think I found my niche in combining all of those skills that I have into one wonderful retirement hobby to enjoy while living at the beach and enjoying the fun in the sun.
Fun in the sun. That's a great concept, and that's what we want to empower everybody around the world to be able to do. You just can't beat that.
Not at all.
Folks like myself with fair skin, we got to watch out. With the fun in the sun, we can get blistery sunburns and stuff like that, and it's happened.
Me
Geez,
too. That's why I gotta wear a hat.
I have to go to that silicone jelly and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, wow. So Tommy, in terms of a digital business card and with what Trail Life is doing, and you're wearing the Trail Life hat today, literally. That's kind of cool. Thanks for doing that. But you wear other hats figuratively. And and like Patricia was saying that, it can be handy to have a digital business card to help people keep track of, your resourcefulness and the roles you play. How do you do it, Tommy? How do you help us out here keep track of what you can do and, what we're connecting to you on with your different organizations? How do you help us keep it all straight?
How do I help you keep it all straight? Well, one of the primary must-have is my wife created a little Canva site, used Canva, and created a website for me. It's kind of similar to Linktree. You've heard about those. And some of the businesses I have are in there and findable on the website as well. But it's a very simple method, but I'm sure there are other techniques, and I'm definitely welcome to learn a little bit more about what Patricia has for digital cards. I know they're very powerful as far as being able to share. So one of the biggest difference is that you don't have to create physical cards anymore, right? So that's the other part, is you can just share it out digitally, and all the information goes with it.
And save trees.
Yeah, so it's saving some trees, and and then that always that how many cards do I have left, right? Situation. So but I would say that on the other side too is that most people are taking that information and putting it into digital. So, right, if you can save that one step where it goes directly from me to the other person that I met into their contact list, then it does save, them one step. Because I do have gone to networking events recently with the VEETS, had an in-person one, and people were still, traditionally handing out cards. And I'm sitting there going, well, they asked me for cards, and I said, I don't have cards, but I text, can I have your phone number? Or, here's my number. So once we have that information, there's always a quick way to send them my Canva link or some other link. I'm sure with Patricia's, there's probably a QR code that you can scan, and boom, you've got the information.
On the bottom of the card, there's icons. So sharing icons. So if you choose to text someone your card, you can just hit that text icon and it goes right into the text message. All you got to do is put the person's information in, phone number.
Fantastic.
Excellent stuff. All right, so we're going to go back to Kathy. Kathy, you've been hearing us talk a bit about digital business cards, sharing information, being available to others for what we do. Kathy, how does it work in your wheelhouse to make sure, people are able to reach you and that demand keeps coming in for people to serve? What does that look like, Kathy, in your trade?
Well, I have my website, and I am contactable there, and I have social media. So I have been using cards. I'm quite interested in this digital cards, but I'm also wondering, is this something could be used by the service users, as in, because sometimes they can go off and there's, obviously we're not allowed to track them, but if there was a way of connecting, I'm thinking, I at the moment, I don't know if anyone has heard of iPlanet, but it's a way to identify participants and let them know who they are, for new people who are staff coming in, to introduce them to they have a profile. So so you were not having to ask the participants directly about the situations, as often they can't communicate it anyway. But then there's a few of the older age groups that can go a bit rogue and have Alzheimer's and dementia and so on. And I'm wondering, is there a way, because sometimes they won't answer phones, and I am curious about how, I suppose there is GPS and so on available, but yeah, I suppose I would be interested in terms of communication and keeping some kind of system on them that was user friendly. I suppose I would be interested in such things. You know, I work with blind and visually impaired as well, so I'm always interested about how can we make it more accessible to everybody, you know, and we're dealing with Europeans with different languages. We're dealing with Ukrainians and refugees with different languages and language barriers, and you know, they can't always access services or know how to access services, and so we're kind of dealing with that side of it as well too at the moment. And I suppose it's all a learning curve, but brings back to communication again.
Can I answer a question? So
Yes.
with my card, we have a translator. So
Uh-huh.
it would translate the card to the various languages.
Oh,
So
great, yeah.
so if you're dealing with a community that speaks, say, for example, only Spanish, then all of the icons on the card will automatically change to Spanish. And everyone who gets the card gets two cards. And you can have one card that's totally in Spanish, and then you can have the second card in English.
And can I ask a question? Like, is it mainly directed at businesses or individuals?
No, I have a card for when I was on the city council, I did a project called Enslaved African Rain Garden. And I have a card just for that, which is a non-for-profit.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Great.
And then I have a friend who
Because I think, yes, right.
The sky's the limit.
You know,
Anything. Mhm.
yeah, great. Because we're just facing some, you know, people have no identification, and the system's very slow here. I've already heard of it being so slow to, you know, unless you've got some form of ID, you can't access any services. And so I've, you know, of course, my brain is always thinking of ways around this, you know, to be able to make it easier for them to see doctors and so on. And, you know, if they had some form of ID, digital ID,
Yeah,
then it could be.
if you were a resource, say for example, and you want to have a card just for resources, then what you can do is, like, say for example, if you want to refer a doctor or ophthalmologist or a speech pathologist, then you would just make those icons on your card and just give them to people and say, okay, if you're interested in a speech pathologist, just click on that particular icon, and that would give you that person.
Okay.
It would you can either take it to that person's website or whatever, wherever you want to redirect that card to.
Cool. This is new to me, so it's very good to hear this stuff like this happening, and thank you for that information.
You're welcome. I answered your question in the chat.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
So Kathy, when you came on before the show started, I believe there was a comment. I'm trying to make sure we're bringing everything out that I'm aware of around being introduced to you, Kathy. And I don't think in the show here we shared anything about artistry, or did I miss that? Did you talk about you like art and you do artwork, right?
Oh yes, I have my master's degree in art, and I have a BFA, and then I have masters in art in the contemporary world. So I went through the mainstream education system in Ireland. And as a wheelchair user, that was very challenging. So it was not always accessible, and I had to make, by turning up, I made changes. But then I get labeled with a capital T for being trouble.
All right. So, Kathy, is there anything in terms of for folks listening and watching the show and the rest of us here, in terms of what you do, your artwork, your, you know, your work on the rehab side of it and so forth? You know, do you have like any websites, any social media, anything that we can continue to follow your story after we're done here today?
Sure, I have my website. It's KathleenO'Leary.artworks.wordpress.com. I can maybe send you the link. It's probably easier.
Okay.
And I do host Zooms, and teach there, and oh yes, I teach the Artist Way recently, and I do Neuropride craft Zooms as well. People turn up and we doodle, we talk and we doodle, and that's has been very helpful to many people. So I shall. Oh, is that there? Oh,
All right. Looks good. Thanks. Thank you,
Oh,
Kathy.
okay, yeah.
And well, we are getting into the concluding minutes of today's show. Boy, the time really flew this hour. And so, but we're going to go around and collect final thoughts. And again, any takeaways, any additional or even repeating information to make sure that once we are off the show, that people can continue on their journey. And, you know, with Ben here, I'm starting something with him that I'm having fun with puns with our names because he's Ben Rusk and I'm Kurt Roskoff. So I'm trying to create an off thing for Ben. So he'd be Ben Rusk, or I'm sorry, Ben Rusk off to the races or something like this. Trying to have fun with your name, Ben. But in any case, Ben, any final thoughts, any takeaway message? And I know you say benrusk.com, but anything else in terms of calling card information?
Nope, that's the one I give everybody is the benrusk.com. Yeah, just to mention that, you know, I truly believe that we need to start educating people, you know, as quickly as possible, as young as possible. So there's no age groups that are off limit. I mean, I've got talks that I can do for elementary school age, high school age, college, career professionals, you know, veterans, retirees. We can run the gamut on things that people should be thinking about when it comes to money in all of those categories, because, you know, it's a shame that we accumulate this knowledge and then we only share it with our peers, which means only those people that are at our age level or greater really get the benefit of our experience. And we got to learn to start passing it back down to the early ages so that they have the time to accumulate their wealth or to utilize the wealth that we leave behind more judiciously. So, you know, I really welcome the opportunity to speak to large groups in any of those categories to help to pass this educational knowledge along. Thank you.
You're welcome. So thanks again for being with us today. So Tommy, final thoughts, takeaways, do-it-yourself information, calling card information for Trail Life. Help us button up your role today.
Yeah, again, you know, I'm just appreciative of being able to be out with the with our troop and other boys that aren't my kids, you know, and share the information and being able to share life skills with them. I welcome everyone else to look for a troop at traillifeusa.com, and that's 2 L's in there. Look for a troop in your area and plug some of these boys in. There's all the American Heritage Girls .org is the other side of it. So if you want to plug these young adults into learning life skills that they can apply throughout the rest of their lives, I'd love to share that out to everyone else. So, and yeah, great to be here and learn more about some of the other business and things that others are doing. So nice to meet you, Patricia, Ben, and Kathy. So great being here.
All right.
Patricia, what would you like to give for calling card information?
I'm sorry, Emily?
What would you like to give for, if you have any calling card information? In case
Okay,
somebody.
Okay, great. Yes. So my information, my digital business card is http Sam :// Tricia TRICIA dot talking V as in Victor card.net. And I guess I'll give my final thoughts. I think communication is key. I commend those who are looking to educate and to help others. I think when we're in business, I think it's our obligation to go back into within our communities. And if you can't find within your community, then find a community in which you can give back. Because I think if everybody thought that way, we will be a better world, and we will have better, we will produce better people. So continue to do what you do. I commend Tom, who I met before in H&P, and Ben, and as well as Kelly. Kathy, I don't really know Grace, but I'm sure she's doing wonderful things as well.
Emily, what's next for wrapping up the show? You got a minute. Good luck.
So, Kurt, do you have any last thoughts?
Well, this is always funny, folks. She asked me for the last thoughts, but then she ends up putting her thoughts after mine, so I don't really get the last thought. But that's okay. We'll let you go next. So, but yeah, this is great stuff here. Advocating for getting out in the trails and outdoor life and camping, and to look at the monetary funding resource. Kind of where you're going to have dollars to draw from and so forth. Patricia, it looks like we're going to need a repeat on your website again. Ben is actively trying to go to it right now.
I put it in the chat, so it didn't happen. Okay, so it's HTTP, the S with those 2 little dots, / and then it's T as in Tom, R as in rabbit, I as in ice cream, C as in Charles, I as in ice cream, A as in apple, dot, talking, V as in Victor, card.net. Thank you, Emily.
All right, so thank you.
And
then Emily, you put in the chat, I think you're missing a V as in Victor in there. I think it's
she's missing the V. Yeah,
talking V card.
I actually I'm missing the V also when I put it in. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think
I did too. Yeah.
All right, so we're all good. So yeah, we got Patricia with her business card technology, where we can actually leave her an actual message that we speak right into her digital V card, and so good stuff here. So we got outdoors wealth and connecting and taking care of people and artwork. So we've got it all here. We got Emily doing her virtual assistants, executive assistants, podcast engineering. We got my wife Sue running production, and we have another guest here who's going to be joining again. We're going to be closing out of here in seconds, and then we're going to be saying goodbye to everybody in the outside world, and we're going to have a little VIP meeting here for anybody that can stay with any of our guests that do need to leave within the minute or very shortly here before we wrap up. Definitely feel free to get on to do whatever it is you need to do, but we're here to stay hospitable and carry conversation if you're interested. So Emily, anything else in closing, or are we just gonna shut off the outside world right now?
Okay, so I wanted to again thank Tommy, Ben, Patricia, Kathy, Gracie for joining us today. Also a special thanks and recognition to Marcus Hart, Transforming Media, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel for allowing us to have this on their platform. I also encourage everybody to check out all of our social media, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe, like, share, comment, and so on. We are here every Saturday at 2 p.m. Central. So I encourage everybody to join us any Saturday that works for you. So on behalf of myself, Kurt, Sue, and the rest of the World of Ability Podcast Network, I wish you a safe and productive week and to stay happy.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
You bet. I'm just trying to end my last live streams here. Goodbye, outside world, one last time. It's not wanting to end there. All right, bye-bye. There you go. Finally,
We're going into the second hour with
Oh.
Took an hour with Kurt Roskoff.
Oh.
yeah, so, all right. Well, Gracie said that she did not want to be a part of the show since it's being recorded, but now we're on to the fancy schmancy Zoom meeting, all privatized. What happens in the Zoom stays in the Zoom. So Gracie, are you looking to talk or?
Yeah, I can speak now. It's not currently recorded.
Okay.